down a Sun Salutation A. So I'm sure most of you have heard in a yoga class, or even if you were just kind of flowing through some yoga, about a Sun Salutation. Be like, okay, Sun Salutation, whatever. And you're like, okay, I don't even know what that means, but I've heard it before. So Sun Salutation in Sanskrit is called Surya Namaskar. Surya meaning sun, and Namaskar meaning bowing towards the sun. So we'll dive into that a little bit deeper as we go through some poses. So I'll run through a Sun Salutation for you first, and then we'll break it down from there. So I want you to start off at the very top of your mat. Inhale, lift the arms up overhead, and exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands, step it back, high to low plank or Chaturanga. Inhale for up dog or Cobra, and exhale, downward facing dog. Hold for 5 breaths. On your next exhale, bend your knees, look up towards the top of your mat, jump or step up to the top of the mat, coming into a forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise and reach all the way up, and exhale, back to your mountain pose. So, okay, let's break that down now. Starting with the very first pose. So you're starting in regular mountain pose. You're standing up tall, palms are facing forward, and you're emitting energy through your fingertips all the way down to your feet and out through the crown of your head. So you always want to firm up nice and strong in your mountain pose. So kind of grounding the feet down, palms facing forward like I said, lifting up through the top of the head, and taking a deep breath in and letting it go. So in your mountain pose, you want to essentially be as strong as a mountain. So you don't want someone to come up and just push you over. You know, if you're like, okay, mountain pose is a nice break, and someone comes up and pushes you and you're like, oh, okay. You want to be able to stand firm, stand tall, and have a little bit of activation in your mountain pose. So after we get into mountain pose, inhale, lift the arms up overhead. We're now in Urdhva Hastasana, mountain with arms overhead. So mountain with arms up overhead, you want your feet hip distance apart, and you still want to have all of that activation that you had in your mountain pose. So grounding down through the feet, you know, pushing out through the side edges of the foot, engaging the core, really keeping yourself grounded, so again, if someone were to come up and push you, you wouldn't fall right over. And mountain with arms up actually really is great to help improve your focus, as well as your posture and your balance and your stability in your joints. From Urdhva Hastasana, mountain with arms up, you're going to come forward into a forward fold. So in your forward fold, you're really stretching out the hamstrings, and you're trying to pull your upper body as close to your lower body as you can. So you can bend at the knees even if you need to get closer, if that feels good for you. And you can even wrap the arms behind or let them to continue to hang down. Standing forward bend is a really great pose if you just are so stressed out and you need to just take a moment. Standing forward bend is a really nice restorative pose that relieves stress, helps relieve tension in the spine because it's kind of almost an inversion. You are going upside down slightly, and it's also great for relieving headaches. After we're in our forward fold, next we're coming up into our halfway lift. Now this is a very interesting pose because I feel like a lot of people don't actually do it correctly. Your halfway lift, feet are going to be shoulder distance apart. Your hands can come to your thighs, or they can stay down on your shins, or they can be on blocks. All up to you and what feels good for you. But you need to create more of a flat back, kind kind of like if you were to have a broom running along your spine. It's going to balance perfectly on the back of your head, your upper back, your lower back, and off the back of your tailbone. So you're lengthening the spine as well as kind of pushing the legs backward in space to help create that nice flat back. And from our halfway lift, we're going to plant the hands, step it back, coming into a high plank. So for our high plank, we really want to engage the core, round up through the top back of the spine, not too much, but a little bit, just to give ourselves some support there. And if this is hard, you can take your feet a little bit wider or drop to your knees. All variations that are popular. I like to dig my fingertips into the ground to make kind of a suction cup with my palm to take some effort off of my wrists. And I always firm up through the quads, press out through the back of my heels, and keep my gaze slightly forward and down, just to keep that neutral spine. From your plank pose, you're going to come into Chaturanga or high to low plank. So if you're someone who has a weaker upper body, you're going to want to go onto your knees and come into high to low plank. Next option, come on your knees and come into Chaturanga, where your elbows are tucked in by your sides and you're making pretty much a perfect 90-degree angle with your elbows, keeping them in tight. Or your final choice, which is to be up into high plank and slowly lower to Chaturanga Tadasana, which is keeping your body off of the mat, but keeping those elbows close by your sides and tucked in, and you are holding yourself up. So it's a really, really challenging pose for a lot of people. I struggle with it myself, and you really have to have some upper body strength to really get into Chaturanga. With Chaturanga, you're going to firm up the shoulder blades, really activate your whole body. It's a really good whole body move. You're going to press your fingertips into the ground, firm up the thighs, press out the back of the heels, slowly bend. And so yeah, we've been struggling with it today. And coming down to the mat. The reason you might not want to do Chaturanga is if you are A, pregnant, not really great if you're getting close to the floor and you've got a nice pregnant belly, as well as if you have carpal tunnel. It does put a lot of strain on your wrist, and that could be very painful for you. But ways to practice Chaturanga, you could practice doing like some push-ups on a wall or on a countertop just to start to build that upper body strength. And from Chaturanga, you're going to come either all the way down onto the mat or you'll go into up dog. So if you come all the way down onto the mat, you're going to keep your hands right on the outside of your rib cage, pressing up into Cobra. So for Cobra, you want to lift the chest up, squeeze the glutes, activate the lower body, press the tops of the feet into the ground, as well as pressing your hands into the ground. So your Cobra doesn't have to be very high. It can be right here if you're really feeling a lower back workout, or you can come up a little higher to variation of your own choice. And if you're not going to be going into Cobra and you're choosing to go into up dog, you're going to take the legs, actually press the tops of the feet into the mat, lifting the knees up off of the mat and pressing up into a back bend, lifting the chest and squeezing the glutes. So your whole body is actually lifted. The only thing touching is your hands and the tops of your feet. And then after your up dog, you're down dog. So pressing up and back with the hips, letting the head hang heavy in between the shoulders, pressing the heels towards the mat, and really trying to press the mat away from you to get that full down dog extension. Now, some people have a really hard time in down dog because they have hamstring tightness, lower back tightness, maybe their wrists bother them. And something to help with that is if you separate your feet a little bit wider in your down dog, then it makes it a little bit easier of a pose, as well as you can always bend your knees to kind of get that better back extension. So if you come up into your down dog and bend your knees, you can see my back actually looks a little bit straighter and better. And then if I take my feet a little bit wider, it just makes it that much more easy for me to hold this pose longer. But down dog is also a challenging pose. It builds a lot of strength in the upper body as well as the lower body, stretches a lot of muscles that if you're sitting for a long time can become really tight. Okay, so let's run through another sun salutation together, and then you guys can do these anytime when you just feel like you want a little bit of a yoga flow, but you know, I don't want to do like a whole class. You can go, okay, I know how to do a sun salutation A. So these were all the moves of the Sun Salutation A, and now we're going to put them together into our sequence, and then you guys can do this at home anytime. So starting off at the top of our mat, inhale, lift the arms up overhead, and exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands, step it back, high to low plank or Chaturanga. Inhale for up dog or Cobra. And exhale, downward facing dog. On your next exhale, bend your knees, look up, jump or step up to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold it forward. Inhale, rise the arms up overhead. Exhale, back to your mountain pose. I hope you guys enjoyed this Sun Salutation A breakdown, and I hope you try this out on your own. Let me know how it goes.